Juniper and Trinity catch up after a long time. Reese comes with dinner as he tries to rebuild his relationship with Trinity. Reese leaves for his work trip as Trinity prepares for her exams when Caleb, a trusted member of the pack, visits here. Although she was suspicious about him suddenly visiting her when Reese was not around, she trusted him as he was a trusted member of the pack. Will Trinity be safe with Caleb? Or is there another attack planned on her? Will Reese fire Caleb for visiting his Luna uninvited?
Trinity's inner growl of anxiety continued throughout the awkward car ride. Caleb was more than happy to drive through the tension. He checked if they were being followed the way that Vincent did. He even parked near the back of the empty parking lot like Vincent too. Caleb didn't move to open the doors the way that her guards did though. He must not have been trained to do that. But once she did open her door, Caleb rushed to the front of the car. He moved quickly like he was in a hurry. Trinity's lips pursed, then she felt it. A shift in the air. They weren't alone anymore, and based on the scent, their unexpected guests were wolves. Her eyes widened. Caleb? She needed to know that he was ready to do what he had to do. Don't worry, Trinity. Everything's just fine. He sounded completely calm. So why am I still worried? One of the scents smelled familiar. Trinity tried to turn and place it. Her eyes widened at how quickly her former guard, Leslie, zoomed to the end of the car. He blocked her from heading that way. Looking for me? Leslie taunted. His voice sent a shudder of disgust through her body. She hadn't seen him since the night of the marking ceremony. He was the guard who made her uncomfortable. She hadn't had to go into detail for Vincent to stop Leslie from entering her room that night, or for Reese to fire Leslie as a guard. A chuckle came from the left of her, and Trinity turned just enough to see Jeremy, another former guard. That was almost too easy, Jeremy said. Thought we'd have to plan harder. A woman's voice cut in. I told you we wouldn't. It was Donna, the hateful wolf who protested at Trinity and Reese's marking ceremony. Let's get this over with. All three of these wolves had her surrounded. Trinity's last turn meant the car was at her back, and she had a wolf on each side ready to attack her. What is this? She asked them. Leslie? Jeremy? Is this because we fired you? Leslie and Jeremy cackled. Why would we care about that? Why else would you do this? She asked. It's revenge, right? Leslie sneered. It was the plan all along. Your little freak out on marking night just meant we couldn't get you from the inside like our boss wanted. We had to get creative after that. Creative? You're attacking a girl in a parking lot. That's the oldest trick in the book, she said. Leslie's nostrils flared. Good, stay distracted, keep talking. She baited them, saying, I thought I just had to worry about rogues and warlocks. I didn't think there'd be an enemy in my own pack. You're not my pack, Donna screamed. Trinity winced. She'd heard enough of that for a lifetime. For the record, neither are we, Leslie said. Jeremy and I aren't independent wolves looking for a home. He fake whimpered like a puppy. Jeremy picked up the whimpering act from his spot in front of her. Your bleeding heart alpha made the same mistake as his daddy. He took in strays, and he'll pay for it the same way his daddy did too. Trinity cut her eyes to Caleb then. He hadn't moved once during all of this. Even though she knew the answer, she had to ask. Caleb, are you in on this too? The shining smile from before was gone. He nodded with no emotion. Don't take it personally. I needed to take down Reese, and someone offered a lot of money to hand you over. It was a win-win situation, Caleb told her. Trinity roared. Traitor! Reese made you beta. But I should have been the alpha, Caleb corrected. That should be my house, my pack. Trinity growled at Caleb. Reese would never hand his pack over to you. Caleb grinned then. He won't have a choice. It's the law. He can't rule without a mate. Trinity and Reese were fully mated and bonded. He had no claim over the alpha title, with or without Trinity. Let him find out the hard way. Caleb was the worst kind of enemy. He'd smiled in her face while orchestrating her downfall. "You'll never get away with this," she told him before scanning her attackers again. The other three had sunk lower while she talked to Caleb. They were closer to the ground, aggressive, ready to attack. "Reese will ruin you." "Too bad you'll never know." Caleb snapped his fingers, and in an instant the four of them came at her. Donna slapped Trinity across the face hard. "That's payback for what your aunt did." Trinity could taste the blood in her mouth from the force of the slap. She spat it, deciding at the last second not to spit it directly at Donna. She needed to ask the wolf something first. "Is that why you're a part of this? Because my aunt slapped you?" "No," Donna barked. "I don't want a wolfless as my Luna." Trinity ground out her next words just to hurt Donna. "Reese wouldn't have wanted you if you were the last wolf alive. You're ugly and rotten from the inside out." "Enough," Caleb roared. He was suddenly beside her. He snatched a fistful of her hair and twisted while pulling. Trinity cried out as she was wrenched to face him. "Caleb, please, think of your family," she pleaded. Riley had been so kind to her. Lila was the mother that Trinity never got to have. Reese was only ever playful at home. Surely Caleb had to care about them. Family was the only good thing Trinity had ever known. Caleb snarled in her face. "I've never understood families. They only get in the way. Night-night, Trinity." He brought a white cloth near her face. Trinity panicked, knowing what came next. "Reese!" She only managed to breathe his name once before the smell of the chloroform knocked her out. As you can see, gentlemen, my company has maintained phenomenal success rates with acquired businesses. I have no reason to believe that your company wouldn't follow suit. Reese was in the middle of a meeting with the owners and operators of the LA-based bodyguard agency that his company was in the process of acquiring. He knew that he needed to focus. This would be a major deal, both for him as CEO and for the werewolves around the world who were looking for work. But Reese's mind was 1,100 miles away, and the last 2 nights played on repeat in his head. Focus, Reese. He kept having to force himself back to the meeting. "Mr. Gray, I see no reason not to proceed." The current owner of the company was smiling happily. "Excellent. Then please allow us to sign the contract." As distracted as he was, Reese was still able to present an offer they would be silly to refuse. "As soon as the ink has dried, we will—" "Reese!" Reese froze at the sound of his little bunny calling his name. He looked around the room. No one else appeared to hear her, but he could feel her fear, taste the night air around her. He closed his eyes for a moment and connected with her across state lines. It smelled like she was in the town somewhere, back in Colorado, near the Thai restaurant by the university. But that made no sense. She wasn't supposed to leave the house. "Mr. Gray, are you all right?" The middle-aged man in the suit sitting across from Reese looked concerned. "I'm fine." Reese cleared his throat. He needed to find a way out of this meeting. He pulled out his phone. There were no new messages, but the other men in the room didn't know that. "Gentlemen, I apologize, but it appears something has come up. Either myself or a representative on my behalf will be back shortly to finalize this paperwork." Reese shook each man's hand before nearly sprinting out of the room. He called Trinity as soon as he was out of earshot, but her phone went straight to voicemail. His little bunny was supposed to stay inside, so why did it feel like she was in danger? He called Noah. "Is the meeting finally over?" It was almost 6:30, an hour behind home. The sun had set hours ago. I didn't think it was ever going to end. Something's wrong, Noah. Reese ran down the stairs, not bothering to wait for the elevator. What is it? Are they not selling? No, they're selling. Something's wrong back home. Something's wrong with Trinity. Reese had reached the bottom of the 5 flights in no time at all. His car was parked right out front. Wrong how? Noah was finally taking the call seriously. I don't know yet, but I can sense she's in danger. Reese's call switched to Bluetooth as he started the car and sped off. She's scared, and I can tell she was near the university just now. That makes no sense at all, Reese. Noah's reliance on logic was both a blessing and a curse. Reese didn't have the patience for it right now. I'll try calling her. I already tried. Reese snarled. It went straight to voicemail. We don't have time to waste. Start packing. I'll be there as soon as I can. Reese hung up on Noah as he sped toward the hotel. Lila answered his call on the second ring. Hi, sweetie. How did the meeting go? Mom, is Trinity there? Reese was too panicked to talk about anything else. What? Reese, what's wrong? Is she there? He struggled to remain calm. No, she left with Caleb a little while ago. Reese's heart dropped to the pit of his stomach when he heard those words. Caleb isn't even supposed to be in town, let alone picking my maid up from the house. Then Reese understood with horrific clarity what was really going on. Looks like I've found my mole. Is everything all right? Reese could hear the panic in Lila's voice. No, Mom, it's not. Reese didn't see the point in beating around the bush. Caleb is in on all of the attacks. Reese, no! Lila gasped. I'm on my way back. Reese pulled up to the hotel. We're going to find her. I have to go. Reese skidded to a stop outside the hotel, where Noah was already waiting with their bags. He threw them into the car and jumped into the front seat as Reese sped away. Reese wasn't about to leave his mate to fight against her enemies alone. It was his job to protect her. It was his job to save her. I'm coming, little bunny. They made it to the airport just after 7, not even an hour since he'd heard Trinity calling for him, but it felt like it had been days. Reese hurried to the ticket counter. There were no direct flights available, and he wasn't going to waste valuable time connecting flights at an out-of-the-way airports. He needed to hurry. I'll buy a whole damn plane to get back to my little bunny. Reese calmed his raging wolf. This was LA. There were plenty of private planes for rent. He just needed to find a pilot. After nearly an hour of searching, a copious amount of threats, and a hefty bribe, he managed to find a pilot to fly them to Denver, which was over an hour drive from home. But it was the best they could do. Reese made another call and had a car waiting for them there. He would not waste a second once the plane landed. He needed to find his mate, and quickly. While he waited, he called Vincent, who organized a search party to look for Trinity and find out what happened. Then the actual flight was nearly 3 hours long. It was 1 a.m. when Reese and Noah finally reached their rental car. They hopped into the fastest sports car Reese could find, and he put it to the test. He raced through the night, across the empty highway, and up the winding roads to the compound. When he arrived, he found Vincent waiting for them in the kitchen. Reese should have been tired, but sleep was the last thing from his mind. Tell me you found something, Reese begged him. I'm sorry, Alpha. Vincent hung his head in shame. It seems like they had help from the warlocks. Their sense disappeared almost immediately. Damn it, Reese growled. What do they want with her? I don't know, sir, but we'll find her. Where are the others? Reese demanded. Trinity had more guards, and they weren't here right now. He needed to know that she hadn't been betrayed. They're tracking them as best they can, sir. They refused to stop until they had something to report. Good. Reese nodded. His little bunny knew how to incite loyalty. Let me know when they get back. Reese hurried to his room to change out of his suit and into something he didn't mind getting dirty or destroying, in case he had to shift in a hurry. Again, he needed to focus. If he was going to find his little bunny, he needed to use the mark he had given her, but his tension was at its max. He would need to relax if he wanted to connect with her. Perhaps a hot shower will help. He set the water to nearly scalding and climbed in. Reese's wolf had been alternating between snarls and whines all night. More than once, Reese had to stop himself from turning after his wolf had already initiated it. When he wasn't snarling and growling for Trinity's return, he was whining and howling to the moon goddess to bring her back. Reese felt every ounce of his pain on top of his own. He needed to see his mate. He needed to hold her in his arms again. If anyone hurts her, I'm going to rip them apart with my bare hands, tear them to shreds with my own teeth. When he couldn't stand the shower any longer, he shut the water off and stepped out. As he toweled himself dry, he felt a small, sharp pain in his neck. He remembered his little bunny playfully nipping at his neck, then biting harder. Reese wiped the fog from his bathroom mirror and examined the point on his neck where she had bitten him, in exactly the same spot where he'd left a mate mark on her. I wonder if she did that on purpose, he asked himself jokingly, but he noticed that there was a dark spot on his neck. It can't still be bruised. It would have healed by now. But sure enough, as he inched closer to the mirror, he realized it wasn't a bruise he was seeing, but a mate mark. How is this possible? Men had never gotten mate marks before, but there it was. He could see the outline of a crest forming where her teeth had been. Perhaps this could be a link between them. If they each had a mark, that should make their connection twice as strong. Reese concentrated on the mark he left on Trinity, then put his hand on his own mark. He closed his eyes and visualized all the details of his little bunny's heart-shaped face, the soft curve of her jaw, the plump cupid's bow of her lips, her small, perfectly shaped nose, those big, curious, bright blue eyes of hers, the pale, moonlight glow of her skin. He imagined the feel of her, the way she smelled. He created an image so clear that he felt like he could reach out and touch her. He watched as she looked around her, the serene look on her face shifting to one of anger and pain. The dimly lit stone room around her came into focus. Reese couldn't see anyone else around her, but he could see his little bunny. The beautiful picture he created shifted to a reality that filled him with rage. She had a bruise across the left side of her face. Blood was running down from a split in her lip. Her eye was swollen, but there was no trace of fear in her eyes. "Trinity," Reese called out to her. He saw her head turn toward the sound of his voice, but he knew she couldn't see him. She made a sharp movement and their connection was broken. "I'll find you," Reese cried out. "Hang in there, little bunny."
Reese felt helpless as he tried to figure out what was going on. But he was sure about one thing, that no matter what, he is going to find his Luna. Will Reese be able to save his Luna in time? Will Trinity be able to handle the torture? What do the rogues want from Trinity? Will Reese punish those involved?
Hey, I am Trinity. Want to know what happens next? Then click the link in the description below and download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Chosen by Fate, Rejected by the Alpha,